There is a scrap of paper found in a hidden pocket of a dead man's trousers on a beach in Australia in 1948. It read two words, Tamam Shud. It is ended. But for us, it was not ended. It was just beginning. Decades later, we are still staring at that face, still analyzing the code, still desperate to know who he was. Why do we do this? Why do we spend our Friday nights paralyzed by fear, scrolling through Reddit threads about disappearances, or watching 3-hour documentaries about crimes that have no ending? Logic says we should seek comfort and resolution, but human beings, we are addicted to the question mark. Today, we are not looking at the how of a specific crime. We are looking at the why of the audience. We are going to dissect the human brain's evolutionary need for puzzles, the psychological torture of the open loop, and the strange comfort we find in the dark. This is an analysis of why you cannot look away. To understand the obsession, we have to go back to a busy restaurant in Berlin in the 1920s. Psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik noticed something strange. Waiters could remember complex orders perfectly until the food was delivered. The moment the task was closed, the memory vanished. This is the Zeigarnik Effect. It states that people remember uncompleted or interrupted tasks better than completed ones. When a mystery is solved, your brain files it away. It is done. But an unsolved mystery, it is a cognitive itch that you cannot scratch. It remains in your active working memory, demanding a resolution that never comes. We watch these videos because our brains are literally holding the door open, waiting for the answer to walk in. Direct neuroimaging work specifically on the Zeigarnik effect is limited, so explanations rely on broader theories of goal management, working memory, and cognitive dissonance rather than a uniquely mapped Zeigarnik circuit. Research on the Zeigarnik effect faces several important limitations. Its memory advantage for unfinished tasks is not consistently replicable, is highly context-dependent, and may partly reflect methodological artifacts, rather than a robust universal law. Many modern reviews argue that the related tendency to resume unfinished tasks, the Zeigarnik effect, is much more reliable than the original memory claim. The Zeigarnik effect is a psychological phenomenon in describing the strong urge to return to and finish tasks that have been started but interrupted or left incomplete. It is named after psychologist Maria Zeigarnik, who studied how people spontaneously resume unfinished activities when given the chance. Zeigarnik's experiments showed that interrupted tasks are often remembered better than completed ones, suggesting that unfinished goals create cognitive tension and salience. Ovshinkina asked what that tension leads to in behavior, demonstrating that people frequently go back to interrupted tasks during later free periods, even without prompts or rewards. But it is not just about memory. It is about survival. For thousands of years, if you heard a rustle in the grass and did not investigate it, you were eaten. Evolutionary psychologists suggest that our fascination with dark topics, murder, disappearances, stalkings, is a form of rehearsal. By consuming this content, you are running a simulation. You are asking, what mistakes did they make? What were the red flags? If I were in that situation, would I survive? Women make up the vast majority of true crime consumers. Studies suggest this is because women are statistically more likely to be victims of specific types of interpersonal violence. Watching these mysteries is not morbid. It is a biological attempt to learn the patterns of a predator from the safety of your couch. Many women report using true crime as a way to learn red flags, escape strategies, and situational awareness, especially in cases of stalking, intimate partner violence, or abduction. Because women perceive a higher risk of sexual and violent victimization, they are more likely than men to say they engage with true crime to feel prepared and vigilant, rather than just for thrills. True crime frequently focuses on female victims, which makes it easier for women to identify with them and imagine themselves in similar situations. This identification can fuel strong empathy, and some fans say they watch to honor victims' stories, push for justice, or learn how systems fail and protect people in real life. This survival instinct morphs into something else in the modern age: agency. We live in a chaotic world where we have very little control, but in a mystery, we get to play the detective. We feel a sense of agency when you spot a detail the police might have missed, or when you connect the dots in a comments section. You are reclaiming order from chaos. You are not just a passive observer. You are an active participant in the hunt for truth. Carl Jung spoke of the shadow self, the unconscious part of our personality, where our repressed, darker instincts lie. The shadow and persona represent opposing poles of the psyche in Jungian theory. The persona is the conscious social mask adapted to external expectations, while the shadow is the repressed unconscious counterpart containing disowned traits. We do not want to be monsters, but we are fascinated by them. Watching a documentary about a serial killer, allows us to safely interact with the concept of evil. It provides controlled fear. It is the same reason we ride roller coasters. We want the adrenaline spike of danger, the high heart rate, the dilated pupils, without the actual threat of death. An unsolved mystery is the ultimate roller coaster. Because the track is broken, the monster has not been caught. He could be anywhere. That lingering dread produces a potent chemical cocktail in the brain that, strangely, we enjoy. There is also a component of relief. Psychologist Dr. Scott Bahn calls it the exaggerated startle response. When we watch a tragedy befall someone else, as dark as it sounds, there is a subconscious wave of relief that says, I am safe, I am here, that is not my life. It reinforces our own security. The mystery exists out there, while we remain safe in here. Here are some of true crime stories that keep us fascinated, unable to forget them.
The Zodiac Killer is one of the most infamous cases from Northern California in the late 1960s and early 1970s. This unidentified killer is linked to 5 confirmed murders, with suspicions of more victims. What made him stand out was how he taunted police and newspapers with letters containing details only the killer and law enforcement would know. Along with a unique symbol resembling a zodiac sign, his early targets were young couples in remote areas, and his attacks became more brutal over time. Investigators looked into many suspects, including Arthur Lee Allen, but no one was ever definitively identified. The case inspired movies like the 2007 film Zodiac, and even influenced Clint Eastwood's Dirty Harry. Despite decades of investigation and new code breakers cracking some of his ciphers, the Zodiac's identity remains a mystery. The intrigue continues, reminding us how some cases resist closure even after all these years. It's been more than 112 years since a family of 6 and a pair of siblings in their care were bludgeoned to death in their Iowa home. They were brutally murdered with an axe on the night of June 10, 1912, when a suspect, or suspects, according to some theories, walked into Josiah and Sarah Moore's home sometime around midnight and attacked the victims in their sleep. The Villisca axe murders have become the stuff of ghost tour fodder, the type of local legend in a small Midwestern community that gives children nightmares and inspires true crime sleuths to try to find the missing pieces of the puzzle. Despite several suspects and intense investigations, the case remains unsolved and draws attention from true crime fans and historians alike. This story highlights not only the horror, but also the challenges of early 20th century investigations. Today, the Villisca Axe Murder House stands as a grim reminder of this dark chapter. Gary Ridgway, known as the Green River Killer, is the deadliest convicted serial killer in the U.S. His crimes occurred mostly near Seattle. Starting in 1982, Ridgway targeted mainly women involved in sex work. He used charm to gain their trust before killing them. Victims were often found near the Green River, inspiring his chilling nickname. Despite years of police work, Ridgway avoided capture. He was careful and manipulative, planting false clues to confuse investigators. It wasn't until 2001 that DNA evidence finally linked him to some victims, leading to his arrest. To avoid the death penalty, he confessed to 48 murders. He later said the real number was even higher. Ridgway's background was troubled. Difficult childhood, abuse, failed marriages, and military service shaped who he became. His life has been characterized by a disturbing blend of normalcy and heinous crimes, culminating in his imprisonment, where he continues to serve multiple life sentences. His case changed law enforcement, from DNA testing to managing long investigations against serial killers. Gareth Williams, the GCHQ worker, was found dead in a locked bag in his London flat. Gareth was a math prodigy who joined the government intelligence agency at 22. One day in 2010, he vanished. Days later, his body was discovered inside a padlocked bag in his bathroom. Strange details make the case puzzling. No fingerprints on the bag or bathroom, no clear cause of death, and one of his phones wiped clean. The coroner ruled the death criminally mediated, hinting at foul play despite official claims of accident. It emerged in the course of the investigation that Gareth had visited bondage websites and looked up bondage training on YouTube. His internet history suggests he had an interest in fashion, and there was 20,000 pounds worth of women's clothing in the flat. During the inquest and subsequent police investigation, it is postulated that Gareth died in some sort of sexual act. But the fact remains that very little is known of Gareth's sex life. He seems to have been a private person, and not a great deal is discovered to substantiate why he would padlock himself in a bag in his bath with the lights off. Investigations revealed possible interference from intelligence agencies and slow responses from his employer, raising questions. But if it was the British intelligence agencies, why would they have done so in a way that has caused this amount of scandal? If it was by another party, then the intelligence agencies seem to have acted to prevent any information emerging about the case. Despite years of police work, Gareth's death remains a mystery clouded by secrecy and conflicting reports.
One of Los Angeles' most chilling unsolved mysteries is the Black Dahlia case. In 1947, Elizabeth Short, a young woman with dreams of acting, was found brutally murdered and mutilated in a vacant lot. Her body was severed at the waist, face slashed, and drained of blood. Despite a massive investigation involving hundreds of officers and even many confessions, the killer was never caught. The media sensationalized her story, painting her in an unflattering light and fueling public fascination. A chilling twist came when the murderer sent Short's belongings to newspapers, but no usable leads emerged. Years later, a detective named Steve Hodel suggested his own father might be behind the crime, presenting intriguing but inconclusive evidence. The mystery still holds tight. The Black Dahlia killing reminds us how some crimes remain unsolved puzzles. In the latest development, there is a suggestion that this case is connected to the Zodiac Killer. As intriguing as that theory is, we'll never know for sure. It's a haunting piece of Los Angeles history that continues to fascinate and baffle. Have you ever heard the rhyme about Lizzie Borden and her axe? Lizzie Borden took an axe and gave her mother 40 whacks. When she saw what she had done, she gave her father 41. It all started in 1892 in Fall River, Massachusetts, where Lizzie was suspected of killing her father and stepmother. Despite strong suspicions and gruesome crime scenes, no murder weapon was found, and her trial in 1893 grabbed national attention. Lizzie came from a wealthy family, but had a tense relationship with her father and stepmother. On the morning of the murders, her father was found dead on the couch, while her stepmother was discovered upstairs. Both victims had suffered brutal blows. Lizzie was arrested, but ultimately acquitted due to a lack of solid evidence. Even though she was found not guilty, Lizzie was shunned by her community and lived the rest of her life in Fall River. She passed away in 1927. The story inspired many books, performances, and continues to fascinate true crime fans today. The house where these events unfolded, now a bed and breakfast, keeps the legend alive.
The unsolved murder of Jeanette De Palma in Springfield, New Jersey, is surrounded by chilling stories of witches and satanic rituals. In 1972, 16-year-old Jeanette vanished while walking to a friend's house. She was found dead 6 weeks later. Her body was discovered on a wooded ridge called the Devil's Teeth, under circumstances that remain a mystery. Surrounding her remains were strange symbols and ominous objects, like dead animals hanging from trees. Local rumors quickly pointed to a teenage witch coven possibly involved in black magic rituals. The cause of death remains unclear. Strangulation was suspected, but there was no definitive proof. Toxicology tests revealed unexplained high lead levels, but no drugs were found in her system. At one point, a homeless man was arrested, but he was later cleared. Years later, researcher Mark Moran uncovered lost police files and received chilling anonymous letters. These letters confirmed fears about a cult planning child sacrifices and deepened community anxieties. Others speculate a serial killer might be responsible, possibly connecting this case to later nearby murders. No concrete evidence connects the cases. Despite ongoing interest in investigations, the mystery remains unsolved. Many official files are missing, and fear still silences witnesses decades after the murder. The disappearance of Emanuela Orlandi, the Vatican girl, is Italy's most tantalizing mystery. Emanuela Orlandi was a Vatican teenager who mysteriously disappeared while returning home from music school in Rome on 27 June 1983. The case received worldwide attention due to the public appeal of Pope John Paul II for her release. An unnamed terrorist organization claimed to be holding the girl in exchange for the liberation of Mehmet Ali Aka, the Turkish terrorist who had attempted to assassinate the Pope 2 years prior. However, the subsequent investigation discovered that the allegation of international terrorism was a misdirection, and the real motive of the disappearance remains unknown. The case was the subject of 2 judicial investigations, both closed without finding a solution. The case was reopened again in 2023. Over the course of 4 decades, the case has led to much speculation about the involvement of international terrorism, organized crime, the role of a possible serial killer, a possible familiar trail, and a plot inside the Holy See to cover up a sex scandal involving ecclesiastical figures. Despite relentless efforts by her family, particularly her brother Pietro, the Vatican has remained tight-lipped. The Vatican has always maintained strict silence about the matter, denying any accusation of involvement. Calls for transparency continue as hope remains alive to uncover what truly happened to Emanuela. Belle Gunness is one of the most prolific serial killers in American history. Belle was a robust Norwegian immigrant with 4 children who ably ran her farm, especially when it came to hog butchering. Twice widowed, she began placing newspaper ads in Midwestern Norwegian newspapers seeking male suitors. She describes her Laporte farm as picturesque, almost a utopia, yet in need of a man to share in the labor. One by one, the unsuspecting men were lured to the farm. Belle would separate the suitors from their money, life insurance, and property before poisoning them, cutting them up and burying them on her farm. At least 10 men answered the ads, but stories over the years estimate her victims at 2, if not 3 times that number. Ray Lamphere, the hired man at the Gunness farm, was so smitten with Belle that he was willing to perform the most gruesome tasks for her. But Lamphere was a liability to Belle. He repeatedly threatened her after she spurned his affections. So, she set the stage for her disappearance and for his involvement in the killings. In April 1908, Gunness visited her attorney to establish a will and tearfully told him she feared she did not have long to live. The following day, a fire ravaged the Gunnis home. Police concluded the charred remains were those of Belle and 3 of her children. Belle's body was missing a head. Lamphere was arrested, charged, and sentenced for arson. Tipped by a brother of one of the victims, police began a search of the property and found the remains of one body after another. Railroads ran special excursions to the Gunnis farm, bringing morbidly curious sightseers with the hope of catching a glimpse of police pulling out body parts. As many as 15,000 arrived in a single day. Refreshment stands were set up along the road serving Gunnis stew. Ray Lamphere gave a deathbed confession in prison to a fellow inmate and revealed his part in the crimes. Lamphere said he set the fire and drove Belle to the railroad station. The burned female body was that of Belle's housekeeper. Alleged sightings of Gunnis were reported for years. In 2008, a forensics team from the University of Indianapolis exhumed the remains in Belle's coffin. They hoped that using the DNA from a letter she sent to one of the victims would prove Belle had died in the fire. Due to its age, the sample was not viable. The tragic case of the Grimes sisters is one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in the history of Chicago. Back in 1956, Barbara, 15, and Patricia, 12, planned a simple night out to see an Elvis Presley movie, Love Me Tender. But they never made it back home. A huge search followed. Even Elvis got involved, publicly appealing for the girls to come home. After weeks of searching, their bodies were found frozen in the snow. A chilling discovery that shocked the city. The official ruling said they died from exposure, but many believe foul play was involved. Despite massive police efforts and extensive media appeals producing many reported sightings of the girls, little in the way of hard evidence was yielded. One suspect, Edward Bedwell, confessed to the killings, but later retracted his statements, claiming he was coerced by police. Because of numerous inconsistencies, the charges were dropped. Furthermore, Bedwell was officially classified as being a mentally retarded individual. There were other suspects, but ultimately, nothing could be proven, and no one else was charged. In 2013, retired police officer Raymond Johnson began a personal investigation into the case. He believed that the perpetrator was a 23-year-old self-confessed child killer named Charles Leroy Melquist. Melquist had been convicted of the September 1958 murder of a 15-year-old girl. Investigators noted similarities in this murder, in body disposal, and that of the Grimes sisters. But Charles Melquist was never charged with his alleged involvement in the deaths of the Grimes sisters. He died in 2010. Officially, the murders of the Grimes sisters remain unsolved, although this is still an open case.
However, we have to ask ourselves a hard question. At what point does curiosity become exploitation? We treat these stories like puzzles to be solved, or content to be binge-watched with popcorn. But there are real families behind the pixels. The unsolved nature of these cases means there is a family somewhere who never got closure. When the internet hive mind descends on a case, it can be a force for good, solving cases like the Grateful Doe. But it can also destroy lives, falsely accusing innocent people in a desperate attempt to close the Zeigarnik loop. We must balance our fascination with empathy. We must remember that the content is a human life. Perhaps the real reason we love unsolved mysteries is that they are the most honest reflection of reality. Fiction gives us answers. Law and Order wraps up in 42 minutes. Sherlock Holmes always finds the clue. But life? Life is messy. Life is full of loose ends. People walk out the door and never come back. Codes go uncracked. We watch these mysteries, not just to find the answer, but to practice accepting that sometimes there is not one. We stare into the void, and even though it scares us, we refuse to blink. Because as long as we are asking questions, as long as we are searching, the story is not over. And maybe, just maybe, we can be the ones to finish it.